Welcome back to the Sunday Spread. A very special weekend. Conference Championship weekend is here. Of course, Devin Caney right here, Sean Bell, Barrett Brooks will be with us in a little bit, but it's championship weekend, baby. It's time. Going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm going to start and ask you this question right away. Would you rather lose in the conference championship game or in the Super Bowl?
In the Super Bowl.
Like, if you knew your team was going to lose, you'd rather lose in the Super Bowl?
100%.
Okay.
100%. You're still going to the Super Bowl.
It's more heartbreaking.
Like, your team is still in the Super Bowl. No, see, I think conference championship is more heartbreaking because you're so close. And I know, like, Super Bowl, I guess you could argue the same thing. But the conference championship, like, you're so close and you fall one step short. Where the Super Bowl, you still get to go. And by you, I mean, like, the team. If you cover the team, but, like, you can still go and, like, be in the hype and surroundings of New Orleans or wherever the Super Bowl is, you know?
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's still losing sucks regardless.
When I think about the losses in my head, I was way more heartbroken about the Super Bowls and the conference championship games. Way more heartbroken, especially if it was a close one.
I'm not like with any of my teams, even, you know, with the Phillies. A lot of people think that the most heartbreaking loss in their recent like play or postseason runs has been when they went to the World Series and lost. That's not for me at all because that season, like, I didn't even expect them to go to the World Series. So I think when you make it that far, I'm not one for consolation prizes, but when you make it that far, like, it's fun in itself and you can still take away, you know, that fun experience, even though it is heartbreaking. For me, it's just heartbreaking when your team falls short. So, like, I'll still be upset if the Eagles lose on Sunday, but it would have really sucked if they lost in, like, the wild card round because then that's just embarrassing, you know?
See, I'm total opposite from you. I don't care if I lose in the wild card round.
Really?
It is what it is.
I do.
It is what it is. Like, if my expectation is Super Bowl, it's like I lost in the wild card round. Like, it is what it is. To be this close away from it is just way more heartbreaking to me. Like, you were this close. Like, if we lost in the divisional, we lost in the divisional. Like, we lost to the team that lost to the team that lost to the team. Like, we weren't actually close. Like, it wasn't in our grasp.
Well,
but to have it in
I think
your
it depends on how the regular season goes. Like, if you're a team that's kind of mediocre and you make the divisional round and you lose, like, say you're the Texans, I feel like that's like, okay, you know, that's fine. They put up a good fight, but in the end, it wasn't enough.
It's like, that's cute. That's cute.
But when you have a good team like the Chiefs, all four teams that are in, and maybe except for the Commanders, it's like, all right, you got to finish it.
Well, speaking of losers, let's talk about the losers from last week.
Yes.
The most surprising one, well, like, pretty obvious. The Commanders smacking the Lions. I mean, 45-31. Again, this was the game we all got wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So
I will take that out.
What was your reaction to this?
So, first of all, the first half, I'm sitting there just like, it's like a tennis match. I'm like, what? Score? Another score? Another score? I shouldn't even say I was shocked because when you look at both these teams and what their strengths and weaknesses are, it's actually very similar. They're both like a really high-powered offense who can put up a lot of points and defenses that aren't that good. So I guess I shouldn't have been as surprised as I was. I thought the Lions were going to come out and crush the Commanders the way that we've seen them crush so many of their opponents throughout the regular season. And I was wrong. I mean, I got a feel for Detroit fans a little bit. Like, I'm not going to say I'm like, oh, man, boo-hoo, sorry you guys. But, like, that's got to hurt. You know, you talk about making it that far to have the season that Lions team had and then to lose in the first round, not first round, like their first round, because they had the bye, to a team that they all probably assumed that they were going to beat as well. And then to lose your coordinators. Like, that's not fun. That's not fun at all.
I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like, this may have been their last chance.
Yeah.
Like, I know they still had their talent, but I talked about last week, coordinators meaning everything. The Eagles know that.
Yeah.
Right? It's a totally different team this year because they have legit coordinators this year.
Right.
You lose Aaron Glenn. He goes to the Jets, which I don't know why you would take the Jets job, but, hey, there's only so many head coaching jobs.
They love defensive
there
coaches, don't they? The Jets.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Like, but why would you want to go there? I feel sorry for him. He's probably going to be fired next year because that's what the Jets do. And then Ben Johnson goes to your rival that has plenty of talent. I know Kenny's I'm
excited to get Kenny's thoughts on that later in the show or now. I don't even know when Kenny's coming on, but yeah, because I've seen so many Bears fans like in my feed being like, we're going to the Super Bowl, and like they're so excited. And I love it. I'm not saying like I'm not poo-pooing on it. I like love seeing the excitement. You know, you have hope on the horizon. You know, you have a coach who you can get excited about, who can maybe work with Caleb Williams. And then do you see Caleb Williams was in a picture with Ashton Jeanty? I think he's Heisman runner-up from Boise State, and everyone's like, oh my God, if they get Ashton, and then like their offense is going to go off. So there's hope, and I'm happy for Chicago fans.
Yeah, but again, sad for Detroit fans.
Yeah,
like that was your secret sauce. I know you're like forget about.
I just
Detroit.
love my Bears.
You're just losers. They lost their secret sauce. It's over. Like it's over. Yeah. Like you're not going to be good as next year just because of your coordinators. It almost feels like, again, you feel bad for them because Philadelphia. I mean, we've been in this situation before with no Super Bowls. All right, so it's just like you be happy for a team. Like if the Eagles don't win, it would have been happy to see Detroit do it because they've never gotten it before. Like they're not pompous jerks like some other teams are. Like it's just
like
it would be a feel good story. I'm talking about the Kansas City Chiefs for those.
And like you just said it. I think here in Philadelphia, we know, I think better than a lot of teams, the effects of losing both coordinators. Like it's really hard. And it actually, if you look at what Jalen Hurts and at both sides of the ball, really, but especially the offense, have been able to do under literally a new offensive coordinator and new quarterbacks coach pretty much every single year, if not literally every single year. I know offensive coordinator wise, I don't know about quarterbacks coach wise, but it's hard. It's a totally different scheme. And we saw, with the Eagles, they collapsed at the end of last season because they messed up and they hired the wrong guy on defense. So, yeah, I mean, the Lions, they still have Dan Campbell. They still have some of the pieces. Like, I would bet that maybe they're going to try to bring in some more defensive talent in the offseason, but that stinks. That's not a fun way to go out.
So, with that said, let's go to Kenny, our resident big-time Bear fan. Kenny, you take something away from the team that was beating you up all the time. How do you feel about this hiring of Ben Johnson? Again, the hottest coordinator in all of the land.
Well, everything seems like it's good on the surface, but I think that this is actually more bad thing for the Bears. And I know that sounds bad because it seems like a very good hire, but because of that and knowing the tendencies of this football team, how they're run at the top, whenever they have expectations to be good, and listen, they paid Ben Johnson to be the 7th highest paid coach in the National Football League. You look at the list of the top 10, you see a bunch of Super Bowls in there, playoff appearances. Like this guy's never coached a game before. And he's making Sean McVay, Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh kind of money. And so now he's going to have all these expectations. The Bears last year, their win total was 8.5. Of course, they only won 5 games. It'll probably be something like that because they'll upgrade the offensive line. Everybody will be hype about Ben Johnson. Now they're going to have to live up to these expectations in a division with, Dan Campbell's still there. Yes, he lost his coordinators, but I trust that he's going to replace them and they still have, worlds of talent on both sides of the ball. They're going to get Hutchinson, who's potentially the best defensive player in the league, back. You look at Minnesota, they're going to have McCarthy step in, but they still are more talented and O'Connell's still more proven than a guy like Ben Johnson. And then you look at Green Bay. They're going to look to add because they're still really young, and LaFleur, never loses to the Bears outside of the last game of the season. So I just think that the hype is going to be something to worry about because I just don't believe that they'll be able to live up to it given the situation, at least in year one. And then people are going to start to panic about Caleb. People are going to start to panic, like, was this the right hire? I am not very excited about them this season, but moving forward, if he can at least prove that he belongs as a head coach and maybe Caleb and Ben are the pairing moving forward, I just feel like people are going to try to rush into this and be like, they're going to be good right now, right away. And I just think in the division that they're in with the state that this, the season went, they have a long way to go in order to be good again. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the way I feel. So I'm not really on the hype train. We're going to, like you said, Devin, we're going to win the Super Bowl next year. Like, no shot. I know how,
I swear, I literally, I forget who it was. I saw a Bears fan who I think most Chicago people I follow on X or Twitter are in media, and they were like, we're going to the Super Bowl. It might have been a Barstool person or something.
Yeah, so. let's relax. But he sounds like you oddly sound like a Philadelphia fan.
You do.
Negadelphia.
You do.
Like, you sound negative. Like, this should be more positive.
Do we know who?
It should be.
Are they hiring a new OC, or I don't even know who it was?
Well, they're looking to bring over the Lions offensive coordinator. I forgot his name. He's got a really I think Hank is his first name. I should know that. but they haven't hired anybody yet. Ben's going to be in full control of the offense with Caleb. And that's also the thing that I'm worried about. I think that this hire was to save Poles and Warren because they chose Caleb to be the guy and they need him to be the best version of himself. And in order to do that, they needed to go get Ben Johnson, an offensive guy, to work with him. I think that their mind is far away from the Super Bowl because in reality, they know that they're not going to win anytime soon, especially with where they're at. And you look at a team like the Commanders and people say like they're able to turn it around right away. I just think Jayden Daniels is special. Caleb Williams gave no reason for any of us to believe that he's a special player in this league. And I think, yes, the Commanders did multiple things right, including getting a new owner and getting a new general manager and getting a new head coach, but I just think that people have to slow their roll before we say that this Bears team's going to be good. And if their win total is 8.5, I'm going to bet the under.
Jeez.
Wow. Well, I mean, they're obviously going to have to bring in more talent, and we'll see who they draft. Where is their draft pick right now? I'm trying to find
that. They picked 10th right now, and they'll probably end up with one of the top offensive linemen. That's probably where they'll go. Of course, last year they went with a quarterback and a receiver, and they ended up being like middle of the pack. It's like Caleb was not the best rookie quarterback. They took him first overall, and they took Rome Odunze as the third receiver, and there were multiple rookie receivers who were better than him. So they've got a long way to go as far as the picks that they took last year, and then they got to develop some young talent this year. I just think I'll just say this: despite the hire being good, they got their guy. I would be shocked if they didn't finish last again this upcoming year.
I don't like any of this. Cheer up, buck up, Bucko. I need you to feel a little bit better, Kenny. You know what I mean? I need some positivity out of you. You got the best guy available to be your head coach, and that should be good things for this team. With that said, let's go to the other games.
Yeah, can I just say one more thing on the NFC North, though?
Yeah.
All NFC North teams, the big, mighty, powerful NFC North division that we talked about all season long, Vikings, Lions, Packers, sorry, not the Bears, maybe next season, none of them made it past their first round that they played in, right?
0 wins in the playoffs. Zero. The Bears have one win in 2025. The Lions have 1 win in 2025. The Packers and the Vikings have 0. So that's one
how
thing.
How can you not be positive about that?
Well, just because I think that they're still the worst, and I still think Ben Johnson, he might be good, but he's still the worst because he hasn't coached a game yet. I think the other 3 coaches are awesome, and it's just going to be tough. It's going to be an uphill battle, and you're right, Sean. I should be more positive. But it's the Bears. Come on, we know this. We know some of these teams in sports, how it's very hard for them to live up to expectations. They are just one of those teams.
If it's 8.5, I'm going over.
Wow.
Chicago Bears will win 10 games next year. Book it.
10?
I'm giving you my future right now.
10 is a little generous.
They're going to win 10 games next year.
I would bet them if it was 7.5
next year.
Oh, do they?
They play the AFC North, which will be tough. They play the NFC East, I believe, too. So they'll play Philly this year. Yeah. Those are 3 teams. Philly, Cincinnati, and Baltimore are 3 teams they'll never beat. They'll never beat those teams with how good they are right now. They won't win those games. Those are 3 more losses of teams that they didn't play this year. Of course, got to play that.
Make money. I'm
going under. I'm going under.
Over 10-7.
I think they could get 8 wins. But yeah, so I think all NFC North teams played the AFC South this year.
Yeah.
And that's why they all, I mean, not why, like they were.
That's a good reason. Teams, yeah. They play the worst division in football.
Yeah.
We're going 10-7. Book it. Let's get to the other big game. Ravens Bills. I mean, that was the best matchup of the entire week, right? Like that was the game where you go, either team could win this. Not only either team could win this, either team could go to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. That's how good these 2 teams are. Mark Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised he made it home.
Well, did he? Because I know have we gotten confirmation of that? Because I saw he wasn't at his locker. He didn't speak. I don't think he's yet to speak. I mean, look, that's really rough. It's really rough. I saw Bills fans were like donating to his foundation or whatever, and like that's nice, but like, come on, he dropped a pass that he probably should have caught. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
Look at Barry Butch.
Hey,
I was going to bring you in the second segment, but you just hopping on in there.
For sure. Up, I mean, he was porn shaving. Shaving.
Stop it. Yeah, he just come in here with conspiracy theories.
Fumbling, drop pass. Come on, man.
It's weird because this was one of those games, and we'll talk about it more after the break, where I said they're going to kill Lamar or Josh, the person who loses. I actually think it ended up being they're not going to kill anybody. Like, no one's killing Lamar Jackson for losing that game.
No.
He played well, and again, Mark Andrews had a fumble. Mark Andrews had a drop. So it's
tight end.
Absolutely the opposite of what I thought would happen. Lamar Jackson is still rated as Lamar Jackson now. He still hasn't gone to the Super Bowl, and he's still going to have those type of critiques.
Yeah.
But I'm not seeing people kill him online. But
again, you're right. That was a really interesting discussion around that game that we had. Whose legacy is on the line more, and hasn't really. I guess Mark Andrews was on the line the whole time. Who knew?
Yeah, Mark Andrews was on the line too.
The Ravens killed. I mean, if you look at the game, when you're watching the game, the Ravens did what they wanted to do from 20 to 20. But then, it's I just can't believe that, my guy, one of the best tight ends in the league, drops passes, fumbles. I mean, I felt sorry for him.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel bad for Guy because he's getting cooked, but it is what it is. But that was an unbelievable game. Listen, we'll talk more about that game and get into the other games. Rams, Eagles, Chiefs, Texans real quick. As we get into the conference championship games, I also want to ask y'all this one question when we get back. Let's rank the 4 teams left. I think that's going to be an interesting debate. I know who we're going to have as 4, but 1 through 3 I think is going to be pretty tough to hash out. So we'll do that coming up on the Sunday Spread. Welcome back to the Sunday Spread on the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM. Once again, Devin Caney, Sean Bell, Barry Brooks, back in the building. We're rehashing last week's game a little bit before we get into the conference championship games. Let's go to Chiefs Texans. We'll get to the Eagles Rams last because we'll go longer on that. Chiefs Texans.
I'll tell you.
I mean, the refs. I mean, there's only so many things you can do. Well, I mean, I think the Chiefs would have won anyway, but still.
They didn't need help.
I feel like I could say this about most Chiefs games throughout the regular season this year. I was like, wow, the Texans could do this. And I knew I was going to think that before the game even started because the Chiefs just do that, and then they find a way to win, or the refs help them find a way to win. I just am here for the national, global. I feel like everyone is finally turning on Patrick Mahomes and his flopping for the refs. Even who was calling that game? Was it Joe Buck? Was not having it.
No,
I think it was Troy.
Yeah.
Was it Troy Aikman? Yeah. It was that
duo.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they were not having it, and I appreciated that. Speaking the truth for one.
That's something we need to change throughout the league. Like, quarterbacks have been getting away because I know it's Pat Mahomes, but every quarterback does I'm going to edge up the sidelines a little bit, see how far I can take it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I might cut in, I may truck you, or I'll get out of bounds. But a defender never knows what that quarterback is going to do, and they can be real slick about it. And then when they get down at the last second, it's don't touch me. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, they need to do something where the quarterback has to do something more blatant that says, I'm giving it up or I'm out of bounds.
Well, and then it's the calling for a penalty. It's like we're not, like, it's not soccer. It's not even basketball. Like, you're not, like, what are we doing? Right. And it pisses me off in basketball too, but especially football where it's a physical game. Like, it just takes away from the sport, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, and I love the fact it was so poetic that Troy made the call and was like, look, I played this game, I understand, what I was putting my body out there to do, but this is ridiculous. I mean, it wasn't even blatant. It was just like, I'm gonna do this, and then he got up and ran out there like nothing happened. I'm like, no. They should have stopped the game, and they should have threw a flag for him. They should get a flag for it. There should be something they could reciprocate for them flopping like that. It should be a flag, 5-yard penalty, whatever. They needed that because it was ridiculous. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I don't know what you can do, but there has to be.
They got to be some penalties for it.
Rule. Like, there has to be the quarterback has to give themselves up in a more, I don't know, flashy manner.
Raise the hand.
Make y'all know, like, hey, it's up. I'm over. It's done. Like, it has to be something more flashy because, again, remember when Kenny Pickett did that in college? He did the fake slide.
Yep.
They had to ban the fake slide.
Yeah,
like,
never forgot.
Right.
That's something that Pat Mahomes, I know.
I forgot all about that.
Miss Pitt.
You know what I realized last week, by the way? I didn't take time to talk to you about Penn State Notre Dame last week.
It's too late. It's over.
And now
you
it's too late, so I'm sorry. I know.
You missed your shot. It's okay.
I know. I don't take advantage of my trolling opportunities as well.
Yeah. And
I'm a nice person.
I was thinking about it too. You're a nice person. She just said she forgot, but she's nice.
But she had something else she was digging in you about, though, wasn't she? What else was she?
She's always
49ers.
That's that.
She's always bothering me about something because she says she's a natural born hater, but smiles through it. Oh, she's like, I'm a smile, but I'm hating at the same time.
That's a flop right there. She's smiling. She's digging at you. She's smiling.
I don't believe you.
That's a 5-yard penalty.
So, someday people gonna realize you just like Pat Mahomes. Phony.
That's the rudest thing you've ever said to me. Yeah. Take that back. I'm nothing like Pat Mahomes, okay?
You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Oh, my goodness.
With that said, let's get to phony. The Eagles. Let's talk about their game.
Wait. What did that? How's that stem to the Eagles?
I don't know. I just had to throw it in there. I don't even believe that, but you know what I mean? I had to say it anyway to make y'all annoyed. Eagles Rams. I mean, whew. That was a game, and Saquon Barkley is a monster. Mm-hmm. But it got real interesting when the snow came. Like, I was thinking about our snow conversation and the dome conversation. You're like, everything needs to be outside until my team loses. Then I'll say, and I was just like, don't let this affect the Eagles and how they play, because then we're going to be calling for a dome. But
I mean, I will tell you the snow is so heavy that I don't think it was benefiting or hurting anyone in particular. Like, everyone was struggling out there. Like, it was bad. It was bad. Well, Matthew Stafford continued to throw it, but yeah, it was coming down heavy by the end of that game.
See, from my standpoint, I felt like the Eagles handled it better.
Yeah.
Because the Rams, you go into
I felt like they just continued playing as if it wasn't snowing.
That could be true, too.
For the most part.
They went into halftime at 13-10, because obviously I picked the Eagles also to win comfortably. I said, the Rams, they can win this game. Like, they can actually, if it wasn't for two dynamic plays, and that's what the Eagles do, like, they are in this game. And I felt like the Rams had a great shot at winning the game. Then the third quarter hits, and it's snow, and it's just drop, fumble. And it was great job by the guys to force fumbles. But all of a sudden, ball protection wasn't high. You're right. It was almost like y'all playing as if it's regular football.
Right,
it's not regular football. It's snow football. You got to change things up. And they didn't handle it well. All in regard, the Eagles were like, well, that's what we do. We run the rock. It's all right. And everything was fine for the Eagles. So, again, and then when the snow stopped coming down as hard, the Rams were able to get a touchdown late to make it. And I know Vic was playing some soft coverages, but the Rams were a better team and closer to the Eagles in that game than I thought they would be.
You know what, though? I'm going to say this. I think the Rams are probably the best team besides the first and second seed. And that's, the Detroit and the Eagles. I thought they were the third best team, even better than the Commanders. I really thought that because they're a well-balanced team. Their defense was playing excellent towards the end.
Their pass rush was really good.
Exactly. 9 sacks the week before, then 7 sacks this last game. I thought they brought it together as a defense better than any other playoff team. In fact, their defense is probably the best defense besides the Eagles in the NFC. They were the best. So I felt as though they had a better chance of playing a harder game. I really didn't want to play the Rams. I would have much rather played Tampa Bay. You know what I'm saying? Or
y'all wasn't saying that before.
I didn't. No, I didn't want to play Tampa Bay.
You're like, Tampa Bay.
I wasn't worried about Tampa Bay.
The Eagles have a terrible history.
Right. But that's
going back to 2002.
And what I was thinking about, and I said this on my radio show yesterday, is Barrett made a point of, because the whole thing about the Jalen Hurts, I guess, critique, I don't think it's really hate. I think his critique is, at some point, and I said this before, at some point, Jalen Hurts is going to have to take over the game with his arm. And your point to me was, maybe not.
Why?
They may be so good, that offensive line and that run game, that they're never going to have to deviate. And that's what I thought to myself watching this Ram game. They may never have to deviate. Jalen Hurts may never have to take over a game. Now, don't get me wrong. Jalen Hurts is capable. He's done it before. We're just not 100% confident that he can or that he will again. But they may not have to deviate from anything.
Why? If it's not broke.
They're facing Washington, a team that Saquon ran all over before. Jahmyr Gibbs ran for over 100 yards with over 5 yards of carry last week. They may not have to deviate for even a half. And that's surprising because most teams have to win multiple ways. The Eagles are so good at what they do that
it's their identity.
They may not have to win in multiple ways.
And let me tell you why I say that. I say that because I've done it before. I've won a Super Bowl. I played in the Super Bowl because our running game was better in spite of our quarterback. And this was Ben Roethlisberger.
I was calling you old, though. Because I was like, that was back then. You can't do that now. But we've been getting to early 2000s football.
Yep.
This
we
entire
have been,
year.
yeah.
From a lot of
The
teams.
running back
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
back. And the style of play, and yeah, you're right. And the ways you win. An insane stat to me that I saw yesterday: Jalen Hurts, when he passes for over 250 yards in a playoff game, is 0-3.
Get out of here.
Jalen Hurts, when he passes for less than 160 yards in a playoff game, is 4-0.
Love it.
Isn't that insane?
Love it.
That's
Love it.
an
Love it.
insane
Love it.
stat.
It's like a
Less than
mind-boggling
160?
stat.
Right.
Now I'm
Less
like,
than-
okay, maybe don't pass it.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Just
You know,
keep
but it's
handing
real
that thing
though.
off.
I mean, this is when Big Ben was just Ben Roethlisberger. It's his second year in the league. In fact, from a rookie standpoint, no rookie has ever made it to the Super Bowl starting at quarterback. But Big Ben, we went 15-1 the year before. It's supposed to be an all Pennsylvania Super Bowl. We were supposed to be in Jacksonville playing the Eagles. We lost to the eventual cheaters, the Patriots. But the next year, he was just okay. He wasn't Big Ben then. He was Ben Roethlisberger. In fact, he didn't even win, player of the game. In fact, Randall L. threw the only passing touchdown in the game to Hines Ward. Hines was the MVP of the game. So it can be done. It's on record. It's done. It's been done because I was a part of that team that did it. We ran the ball 578 times and threw the ball, 354 times, or it might be 378 to 554, something like that, as far as run per pass. We ran the ball 200 times more than we did passing the ball. So it's the precedence in it, but that was just that old-timey stuff back in 06. Well, it's back. Just like Bell Bottoms came back for that short little bit, the run game is back right now.
The run game is back.
Why, if it's not broke, why not go out there and do it? Why not go out there and pass the ball? I don't understand why you don't do it.
So with that said, there's 4 teams left. I want to ask y'all to rank them, right? You got the Eagles playing the Commanders, the Bills playing the Chiefs. Dev, I'll start with you. Rank these teams and sort of give your reasoning 1 through 4.
Just overall?
Just overall, how you see it right now.
I think, and I know that you're going to call me a homer, but I truly think that top to bottom roster talent-wise, the Eagles are the best team at most positions. Like if you stack them up, I'm not saying they have the best quarterback, but I'm saying overall the Eagles are the best team. Second, I'll go Chiefs because they have Patrick Mahomes. They do have the quarterback, and they have a good defense. Third, Bills. Fourth, Commanders.
How far is the gaps in your mind?
Not that far. Not that far until... See, the Commanders fall. Like, I know their offense is good. I'm not discrediting that. The Commanders' defense is not good. And I think that makes their gap probably a little farther than, like, from the Bills than, like, the Bills from the Chiefs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I would go Eagles, Chiefs, Bills, like, pretty close. And then Commanders, like, a little farther down.
Okay.
Yeah.
You, Barrett Brooks?
I'm going to go Eagles because they are the better team, but I'm going to throw a wrench in this. I'm going to go Bills next. Then I'm going to go Chiefs. Then I'm going to go Commanders. The reason why I say that because I think that, when you watch the Bills play, that quarterback is willing that team to win. He's almost an unstoppable force. I mean, Josh Allen is playing out of his mind right now. So I'm thinking he, at this point, is leading his team a little more sterner than, how the Chiefs are winning. The Chiefs, I think, are winning from, we're just the Chiefs and, this is just what we do. But I think, Allen is like, look, I'm taking over. I'm taking over. I'm taking over the AFC. I'm going to the Super Bowl this year. So I would say they would be second, then the Chiefs, because they've been there before, been there, done that. And they're going for the triple crown. They're going for the hat trick. Mm-hmm. And then I'll go with the Commanders, who's, a young guy out there playing out his mind, doesn't know that he's not supposed to be this good. He really doesn't understand it. He's just out there balling, playing backyard football. I mean, they're talking about he's using, this AI stuff, and speeding things up. Defensive coordinators get paid millions of dollars to stop these type of offenses, these type of players. You see what happened to the Texans last year. I mean, this past year. They're going to find a way to stop him too. And I think that, at this point, you're going to see Vic Fangio find a way to stop him.
Yeah, that's a tall order. All of ours is different. I have the Chiefs first. And when I do my rankings, I add the coaches and not just the players. And if I'm adding the coaches,
I didn't add that.
I think I think the Chiefs have the best head coach, and I think the Chiefs have the best coordinator. Right, and all these coaches are good. Don't get it twisted. Like I know Nick has gotten his fair share of credit. Fair share of criticism. Mm-hmm. I'm not one of those. I think he's a good coach, but I think again, if I'm ranking everything, I think Andy is the best head coach, and I think Spags is the best coordinator.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
No, not at all.
I mean,
I'm trying to pick a hole in it.
It's impossible to argue
right.
because they've won so much.
Yeah,
you can't argue.
Right?
Look, I want to argue real bad. I want to find it, but I'd just be lying if I said anything different from those two.
So I just think in critical situations, I routinely see them dial up something in the right exact moment to win games. So I have the Chiefs as one because of that: best head coach, best coordinator, and best quarterback. And so I have them at number one because of that. Now, if you talk about this entirety of just the roster, they wouldn't be number one. But I'm going to have them first. The second I'm going to have is the Eagles, clearly, right? Like, they have the best talent by far. Vic is great. I actually think Kellen Moore is overrated.
I do too.
I feel like, I know he's getting head coaching looks. I feel like he's doing the most basic of jobs.
It's so vanilla.
Because Howie Roseman has the best O-line, the best weapons that they've been like all of that movement stuff that he was supposed to come in and bring.
I ain't seen nobody go in motion or nothing, right?
None of that, right? Like so, Kellen Moore is just like
I know when
with
the interviews, it's like okay,
Right.
like that's the
remember
job
that?
like
remember
that got you that. Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, I would want him to stay just for like we talk about, changing coordinators and that benefiting and not benefiting the quarterback and the offense. So like. That the consistency would be nice, but otherwise it's like
Well, I mean, remember me and you were sitting out there in practice, way back when they were in camp, and you were looking like, oh, look how Saquon, he threw a little flare pad. Look, he's flare pad all over. And we were hyped about it, weren't we? We were like, let's go. I ain't seen no flare passes to him. I ain't seen no motion going anywhere.
Ain't no Saquon routes being ran. Like it's
just tough, hard-nosed football.
So I have Eagles second, Bills clearly third. And I think that 1 to 3 gap is like inches.
It is.
Like any of those teams could beat any of those teams. And a large gap with the Commanders. And we'll talk more about the Commanders and the Eagles because that's the first game we're going to talk about. NFC Championship game. Eagles, Commanders. Eagles, a juggernaut. Commanders, the young and dumb team.
Yep.
And sometimes young and dumb can get you a dub. So we'll talk about that next coming up on the Sunday Spread.
I like that segment, bro. I like that.
Welcome back to the Sunday Spread here on the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM. Once again, Devin Caney, Barrett Brooks, Sean Bell. Let's get into the games, championship games. Let's do the Eagles-Commanders first. We're looking at this game, third matchup. That's the first thing I'll ask you guys. A lot of times you don't want to play a team 3 times. You play a division rival, things are going to be a little bit close. Now, the Eagles did do it, 2 years ago, beat the Giants
3
times in that season.
Yeah.
Washington's a lot better than that Giants team, but they did split the season matchup, although Jalen Hurts was injured in that game, so that made that game a lot closer. Mm-hmm. Does it bother either one of you? Or does it make the game tighter because this is the third time you're playing this team?
I think it kind of puts us in a better position now.
Yeah, I think it does the opposite.
Yeah. Oh, why?
You can go.
I'm saying it does because, number one, they barely beat this Eagles team. From number one, our quarterback getting knocked out the game. Second, the second team quarterback comes in. He took none of the reps as far as, starting reps, running the offense. And they changed up how they played defense after that. Even though Saquon had over 100 yards, what they did was they crashed the end. When they crashed the end, that took the zone read out of the equation. They weren't even worried about Pickett, going out there and running that zone option. So they were able to run things down from the backside, and we had nothing from a running standpoint from Saquon after that. It was just nickel and diming. So that aspect, as long as we keep Jalen healthy, they've got to respect him. And everybody's like, oh, he's hurt. It doesn't matter if he's hurt or not. This is the championship game. It's going to be blood, sweat, and tears. You're going to give everything you got because it's win or go home. So you're not saving anything. They're going to go all out. So Jalen's going to give it all out. You can't do that. You got to be aware of how he plays the game. So if he pulls it and runs out and you crash that end, he can take it to the house. So you can't play the same defense. And then on the defensive side of the ball, our safety, our ringleader, C.J. Gardner-Johnson gets kicked out the game after a guy swings at him and doesn't get kicked out of the game, he gets kicked out of the game for responding and saying something. That kind of messed the defense up. But yet they still only won on last second play by 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that we're a better overall team, and if any one of those two players were still playing, the Eagles would have won the game anyways. Plus, it would have been harder because going in and playing the team 3 times and beating them, that's kind of hard. But
yeah,
I think it kind of puts us in a, all right, this is a revenge scenario. What's his name? Frankie Louvu.
Who, by the way, he was the one who almost took Jared Goff out of the game.
He did take him out.
He
took him out.
Goes for headshots.
Yeah,
because he's the one who concussed Jalen too.
Exactly. So this is twice he concussed. So they're gonna be the O-line is gonna put a special tag on him.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a heat-seeking missile on him.
And the way the Commanders celebrated after that win, as if they won the Super Bowl, when starting quarterback wasn't in. Yes, Kenny, to your point, he's our producers in our chat. Talking about the defensive performance. I believe it was the most points that the Eagles defense led up all season. Yeah. But they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who is a massive part of that defensive backfield. And then the Commanders offense just targeted McCollum, who is the backup, over and over again. And they scored all their points like in the fourth quarter, and then they still only won by 3 points. And the consensus has been, because like obviously it's been, Vic Fangio was asked about it, Nick Sirianni, players, like it was kind of just a fluky defensive game, and I think that they're pissed about it still. I do not think that they're going to let that happen again. And they still almost lost. Still,
exactly.
Like,
And their quarterback. Yes, he is good. He had 81 yards rushing. Best believe they're going to have a game plan for that. Him running wild like that.
That worries me because the Eagles defense has not been good against mobile quarterbacks.
Well, they're going to be good this time.
I think it makes it a little bit tougher. I think the Eagles are the better team, but having a rookie quarterback in there coming in and having I know you're like, oh, y'all are mentioning all the things that are correct. Like this guy was missing, this guy got injured, all of that. All a young dumb quarterback says is we got a dub. I got confidence on now.
Right.
And this guy has an insane amount of confidence because he don't know how to lose for real. Right. It reminds me of, and I know a lot of people say different things about Carmelo, but I remember shout out to Syracuse, went there for grad school. Hughes. When Carmelo won the championship in his freshman year, go back and look how he looks when they win a championship. That is the least excited man you've ever seen win a championship in your life, because Carmelo's face was kind of like, yeah, I win titles, right? Like my whole life, I've lost like three times.
Right.
I've lost like one championship game ever. Like this is what I do. As opposed to everyone's excited. Jaden Daniels, again, he didn't win a championship at LSU, but it's what I do, dog. Like, I don't think he's going to come into Philadelphia. Now, Vic Fangio will have some things he's never seen before. Right. But as regards to pressure, dog, I'm young and dumb. I have no pressure on me. I'm loose, I'm free, and I'm used to winning. And I think having that win in Washington against the Eagles early in the season further gives him confidence, like, I could beat this team. He's not going to be looking at it like y'all look at it.
Right.
That's fact-based. But athletes think, I beat y'all. I can beat you again. This is what I do. This is what I win. So a guy who plays young, free, and reckless is going to be a scary opponent. And house money, dog.
Yep.
I'm not supposed to be here. This team is not supposed to be here. I'm playing with house money. And I'm not scared. I think that's a scary thing for a team. And the biggest thing for me, and I've said this for all Eagles games, if you want to beat the Eagles, you got to get up first.
Yep.
Right? Like, you got to have some momentum. You got to make the crowd a little bit nervous. You can't allow the Eagles, because the Eagles in the last 2 games got up right away, and it was scary hours for the other team. Mm-hmm. So if Washington, I think the biggest thing for me in this game, if Washington scores first and they get up, then they're going to be confident throughout this entire game. And that's what's going to make it tight. I think the Eagles, if they punch them in the mouth early, it can be over pretty early and have those seeds of doubt. But I think if you give that young quarterback who doesn't know anything about losing for real confidence early, I think it's going to be a long game for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Another key thing, their all-world right guard, cause he's out right now, and we saw what Jalen Carter did this last game. Yeah. He is a man-child. Yeah. He is almost unstoppable, and the key matchup is going to be what can that left guard do, because he's going to be by himself majority of the game. And Milton Williams, I think, is going to be – he's playing for a contract. He's going for the money. This is his last year on his contract. He's trying to get that money. This could be a huge game for him. In fact, I mean, I want to know what the sack is. He might have 2 sacks on this game. You know what I'm saying? In fact, you know what? We're talking about this. I think right now the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl right now are the Eagles. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's not just us. It's Vegas saying the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have trust in the Eagles defense against this Commanders offense.
And that's the thing right there. Yes.
And Sean, like, I agree. Jaden Daniels is hands down, you know, the biggest threat to the Eagles going on to the Super Bowl. Like him alone. But you also have to remember the Commanders defense. And they still let the Lions put up 31 points. They still, even though Jared Goff turned the ball over, 4 or 5 times, and that offense turned the ball over a ton, he threw for 300 and they ran for 200. Like they gave up massive, massive numbers to that Lions offense. They have one of the worst run defenses, as much as say offenses, in the league. Saquon Barkley carved him up the first time they played. He was covering him up the second time until Jalen Hurts went out. Also, an underrated factor in that second game, the loss, Dallas Goedert was out. And Dallas Goedert is massive to the blocking game when it comes to the run game.
Yep.
I know he missed practice. That's something to watch. He missed practice yesterday for the Eagles, but it was an estimated walkthrough. So I haven't heard anything about him being expected to miss this game, but he is really important because the Commanders are also not good. They're not good against a lot of things, against tight ends, against the pass. So that's just really, really big against a defense that's not strong whatsoever. And Jalen Hurts, who hurt his knee last week, so he might not be as mobile as he usually is.
Well, you know, I don't remember Austin Eckler being a factor, or if he even played the last game.
I don't know if he played. That's a good point.
Yeah.
He definitely didn't play in one of the 2 games.
Right. And he's been balling thus far.
He's been doing, Kenny says.
He's out.
He was out.
Oh, he's out the last game? Yeah. He has been a factor these last 2 games. In fact, he's balled these last 2 games. He's the red zone threat, and they do everything with him from a passing standpoint and running standpoint. So he's somebody that the Eagles going to have to worry about. But we're talking about the best defense in the NFL. We're talking about the best passing defense for sure. And we got to look at what's going on the defensive side of the ball for the Commanders. You're talking about Payne and Allen. I can remember when they first got in the league. Those 2 together were probably the best tandem of defensive tackles in the league. They're old now. Talking not doing as much as they used to do. I think they're ranked 30 as far as stopping the rush.
Boy, have your stories changed. When you talked about Payne and Allen last week, you was giving them praise and that they can get it done. And now all of a sudden they old and washed.
Because I watched them against the Detroit team. I watched them against Detroit, and they weren't the reason why they balled. In fact, what was it, like running back had what? Gibbs had
105.
Yeah, over 100 yards. Yeah.
He had over 100 yards. And I'm watching them, I'm trying to figure out what happened to that tandem of guys. What happened to those guys? Neither one of them were doing anything. It's like their feet were soaked in mud and just, stuck. And I was surprised. I looked at it, and I ended up watching the game over again a couple hours later. Now I'm like, what happened to these guys? It's all about their defensive, their linebackers. Their linebackers are balling right now. Frankie Louvo is Louvo, whoever his name is, balling. Bobby Wags, bro. Somebody old. He's balling right now. But then I'm looking at what was Mike was Sarahstein still something like that, whatever his name is from he's the cornerback from Michigan. He was actually a receiver, and they told him, look, move over to defensive back. We'll think you make a better back. And he gets drafted in the 2nd round. He's a baller. But I can't see AJ is going to take Marshawn Lattimore to the dry cleaners.
Well, listen, I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I know the Eagles' defense is the Eagles' defense, but I think Washington is on a heater right now. And I think Washington is better than they were 4 or 5 weeks ago. This team continues to ascend. They can never
offensively.
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 45 against Detroit, right? And I know Detroit was hurt and has all those things.
They are horrible.
They were able to score against Washington, the Eagles last time. I think they'll continue to be able to score. Now, don't get me wrong, their plateau is nowhere near the Eagles' plateau, But I'm also worried about, and the fun fact we haven't mentioned is the 4 teams left have 0 turnovers in the playoffs. Right? Jalen Hurts had that safety, but they don't count that as a turnover. But the 4 teams left have 0 turnovers. Who turns the ball over? And Jaden Daniels is a young quarterback, right? So you should think Vic Fangio can create some messes to make him turn the ball over. But also Jalen Hurts, I saw some things in last week's game that makes me say he's itching to turn the rock over. That safety he can't take. He had a fumble but was able to recover it. So I can see 2 quarterback individuals where I go, whoever keeps the ball safe, and that's what it's been this entire playoffs, and I know that's generally in football, that's what it is. But whoever keeps the ball safe is going to be able to win this game. Now, the Eagles can still win this game even if they don't win the turnover deficit, but it gets real itchy if they don't.
I'm worried about the sacks.
Yeah. Turnovers have been something Jalen Hurts and the offense has really focused on, like since they turned things around in their week five bye.
Yeah,
was it?
No, yeah.
So that actually doesn't worry me on the Eagles end. I think that
it's almost a detriment though. It's almost a detriment though when you think.
I know
about
it's to a point where like he's
right.
so conservative that he doesn't.
We
get the ball out.
We got to wrap, but I do think you guys should be a little more concerned with Jalen Hurts turning the ball over. He was itching last week. All right, we'll get a final scores on this game, and then we'll move on to the Bills and the Chiefs. It's AFC big boy matchup. Again, Josh Allen needs to go to the Super Bowl because if he don't, the criticism is going to be crazy. Criticism is going to be crazy, especially because he only had like 120 yards last week. So it's not like he had a big, outstanding performance. So the Sunday spread, when we come back, we'll finish talking about this game, talk about the AFC game, and continue to break it down. Once again, welcome back to the Sunday spread. Barrett Brooks, Devin Caney, Sean Bell. Let's wrap up some of our NFC Championship talk. Let's basically talk about how we think this game is going to go, get some scores, and then let's give some props for this game. Dev, I'll start with you. What's the vibes for this game?
Vibes for this game are weirdly good, I think. I mean, I was down at the Eagles practice facilities this week, and Jalen Hurts, who's usually, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a Jalen Hurts press conference,
Boring
but
as hell.
he keeps a lot of information close to the chest. He was feeling loose and seemed like he was in a really good mood, and they just seem the way that they've seemed throughout this postseason run, and it's focused but confident and, you know, not overly excited. Like they're just focused on what's next. So vibes are good. I mean, it's crazy that they get home field advantage throughout the entire postseason. Like this whole time, I think the team and media and fans assume that if they made it this far, they'd be flying to Detroit, and that's not the case. So it certainly helps to get another playoff game at the Link, because that place is going to be really loud, and that's the factor we haven't touched on either. Like that is going to work to the Eagles' benefit massively. It has, you know, throughout the postseason so far, and no snow, so that helps.
Okay, so how do you think this game goes?
I think the Eagles win. I think it will probably be closer than a lot of Eagles fans at least expect. I think a lot of other people now think that the Commanders are like the best team since sliced bread, but I think that it's going to be close. I could see them getting within 6. They always like to make it unnecessarily tough. Jake Elliott, Eagles kicker, also something I'm a little worried about. He made all of his field goals and has made all of his field goals throughout the postseason, but he continues to miss extra points, which
is that?
I feel like you should make those.
Yeah.
And that's certainly a concern, because like last week, had Matthew Stafford and the Rams driven down in that final drive, like they could have won, because the Eagles missed 2-3 extra points, and at the end of the day, that really adds up.
It was crazy. I'm sorry to interrupt you real quick.
No, it's fine.
I was looking at I love Dan Orlowski breaking the game footage down and how Jalen Carter won the game. Did you see how he broke that down?
Yeah.
At the end, it was just like, this play was wide open for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Jalen Carter getting there a second early wrecks the game.
Jalen Carter's
like
a
if
beast.
their offensive and their center made a mistake to allow one-on-one coverage. And because he got the one-on-one coverage, he beats the one-on-one coverage, but there's a wide open wide receiver that's going to go in for the end zone if that center doesn't make a mistake. Like I love it because no one really breaks down some of the intricate stuff, but their center not paying attention to Jalen. Why do you not pay attention to Jalen
on the same move twice in a row
when you're supposed to give him at least a bump? Opens it up, and you lose the game if that doesn't happen. So it's just love how Dan Orlowski breaks those things down. But yeah, sorry to interrupt.
So no, all good.
I just said that because you were thinking about it shouldn't have been that close, and you were talking about things being closer than it should.
Well, and it was
and
such an emotional roller coaster in the final minutes of that game, like final 5 minutes, because Saquon Barkley scored that incredible touchdown, and the Eagles go up multiple scores, and they also left. So it should have been. I don't want to say a blowout, but the difference should have been much larger than it was because there were missed extra points. There were tons of drop passes by the Eagles. Like, I think the snow just kind of makes everything, like, you can critique some stuff, but the snow, I think, just made it really tough on a lot of players. So we won't have that as a factor in this one. I think the Eagles are really mad about the way that last game against the Commanders went down. Like, there was a lot of trash talking. C.J. Gardner-Johnson literally got kicked out of the game for it. I think he'll have that under control, but even like Jalen Carter was talking a ton of trash. I think he's gonna be a game wrecker again. And I think that they know and they have a full awareness of just how close they are, and they're not finished yet. So I have confidence in this Eagles team, and I think that they're gonna get the best of that poor Washington defense.
Yeah. Mr. ISS is used to getting kicked out, by the way. In general.
That's true. Oh, and props. I like Saquon going off again. I also like A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert having, I don't want to say big games, maybe not 100 each, but like over 60 yards each.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I'm a little concerned right now that it's going to be the same type of, atmosphere as it was before. There's going to be a little bit of fighting, a little bit of, guys, getting out of mix, who can keep their, their head level in this game. That's going to be, to me, that's going to be key to me on who's going to win this game, because at this point, I really think there's a lot of bad blood from what you were talking about this last game, the chippiness and everything else.
They like to downplay it too, but
oh yeah, they do.
I think that's going to come into play.
And especially, you knock my quarterback out.
Mm-hmm.
Foe, we're going to put foe on you. I mean, it's going to be as an offensive lineman, and you did this to my quarterback the game before. Now you did it to the Rams quarterback. Oh, I see what you're trying to do now. So to them, it's clicked in their head, we must destroy this man. Mm-hmm. Anything with a 4 jersey on, we're destroying. So they're going to destroy him. Then you got to look at this aspect that this will be the best defense that they've played, that the Commanders have played in this, in this postseason. So it's going to be a lot different from what you saw against this Detroit team. Yeah, Detroit was good. Their defense sucks. They had guys just off the street. They pulled a couple guys from the the local liquor store and out there taking tolls to play on the defense, to play in the defensive backfield. They had a quarterback come in and he was coaching high school, wasn't he? Come on now. It was only a matter of time that they were going to, show who they really were. And that was just just a bunch of guys they stuck together to try to get to the Super Bowl. So I didn't think that, that was a good win, but it wasn't as big as what everybody was trying to say it was. So I think the Eagles, this team, I think they're focused now. They understand what's ahead of them. I think they'll go in with a great game plan. In the last game I saw against the Rams, as soon as they scored the long touchdown, they turned back around. Vic Fangio put this preview defense in. He saw it didn't work. They went down and scored. And then he's like, okay, then let me switch this back up. He went back to being aggressive. I hadn't seen that out of Eagles coaches in a long time. To see something ain't working and change it, from drive to drive like that and heat them up. And it worked out, them winning the game. So I think that's key, that they can go out there and change up the game plan to what's going to be successful for them. So I think, you tie those things together, the Eagles have a better team, more experienced coaching staff, and I think that, there's all this stuff is going to come together along with how they control the game, their attitude, who they are as a team takes over, and they put them in their place early.
I'm going 29-27 Eagles.
Oh, God.
29. I was going to say, my score was going to be 28-21.
I like what Dylan, one of our producers, said 34-14 Eagles. I'll take that one. Yeah. I would love a non-stressful game. That would be great.
I think it's going to be stress. I just think playing each other, being divisional rivals, it's going to, things just, normally end up tighter being divisional rivals. You know each other. You know each other's quirks a little bit better. You know this lineman likes to do this. His knuckles go white when he does that. Like, it's just different thing when this play call is going to be called. I just think different things. And I think Washington is playing the best football they have all season long. Their confidence is the highest they've been all season long, right? Like, this is the best version that the Eagles are going to have to face. And I think it's going to be a snot-nosed battle. Again, you say, hey, the Eagles are going to do this because they don't like them. And, well, Washington don't like you either. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be wild. I don't like you either, and I'm going to try to knock the snot out of you
when, like,
either.
a little kid tries to punch someone and the big kid holds their
Big
head
brother, yes. That's what it is. Yeah.
That's, like, the visual representation of the Eagles and the Commanders.
Right. We're the big brothers, and you're the little brother.
They're just, like, swinging away, punching air.
Yep.
Hey, see,
there you
go.
go.
I'm going to give you a different analogy. And this is the analogy of me and my brother. My brother's 6'1", I'm 6'5". That happens for a long time. And then one day you realize my brother's a little bit bigger than me. I can't just do this.
Right.
I can't just do
but
this
that
and
day
I'm just
is not
swinging.
that day is not Sunday.
And now I got to fight for real.
Maybe next season, but not Sunday.
And now I got to fight for real to put him in his place. Now you end up winning as big brother, but that ended up being a lot harder fight than it used to be. Right? Like my brother, when I was 14.
That's the beauty of playing them twice already this season. The Eagles know what they're getting. Like I also don't think anyone was surprised.
And they grew a couple inches over the summer.
Okay.
They grew a couple inches since you faced them. It's going to be a harder fight than it was the last time.
Because they beat two teams that have really bad defenses?
Because they're bigger, stronger, with more confidence and more experience.
Oh, wow. So much confidence. Confidence can get you so far.
You see, Kenny, how I let them do their whole spiel, and as soon as I start my spiel, I get cut off and say, what are you talking about? You see the disrespect that comes when you're dealing with two Eagles faithful right here. It's a tougher, like, it's a tougher game than you think. Washington is going to be a good team.
I don't think it's not going to be a tough game. I don't. I think it's going to be a tough game. I was more worried about the Rams, but I also feel like now going into the third playoff game for the Eagles, I'm like almost more just used. Like, I think my nerves are more used to it. But it's going to be a tough game. I'm not saying it's not going to be. I just don't like the Commanders.
I wrote it down, 28-21. Eagles.
I'm not mad. To me, that's too traditional because Jake Elliott's going to do something to make the score funny, which is why I picked 29. You know what I mean? I was gonna pick 30.
Darn it, Jake.
Damn, man, I can't even say. I have no rebuttal.
I was gonna pick 30.
I don't have
even
rebuttal.
35, but I said Jake's gonna do something to make the score be a little bit funky because that's what he's done lately.
Right.
So
that's hard to get to. Yeah.
Field goal. He's gonna do something funky to make the score a little bit funny. But again, I think the game is gonna be a tough matchup. I think the Eagles win. I think if I'm giving props. How could you not go Saquon 100 and a tutty? I mean, I know it doesn't earn you much nowadays.
I know, right?
But still,
I had a Saquon 2 touchdowns last week, and that hit. Oh. So that's more value if you want that.
I like that value.
Yeah.
I like Jaden Daniels to go run for over 50 yards. I think he's going to have to. Even in the passing game, he's going to have to scramble and go, I got to get out of here and get somewhere. I know they recognize it, but every team this year has recognized that that's what he does. And he's still been able to get his rushing yards. So I still think he gets 50, even not just called running plays. I think a lot of it's going to be nobody's open. I got to make a move. Mm-hmm. So I think he gets over 50. The actual over-under is 53.5. I think he can get over that, too, because he's going to be scrambling for his life because Jalen Carter's going to get in there quick. So I think that's a good thing to do. I also think Jaden Daniels is going to get an anytime touchdown.
Okay.
I think he's going to be one of the ones that score. It's going to be a goal line situation. And they're just going to call his number. Roll out to the right. It'll be a pass-run option, and he chooses to run the ball in. So, Jalen Daniels, an anytime touchdown and a run for over 53.5 yards, and Saquon Barkley over 100 yards and an anytime touchdown. Again, I think some points are going to be scored in this game. Any other props that you're looking at in this game that you like, that you dislike, how you think the game is going to go? The interesting thing is you guys said A.J. Brown. I don't feel confident in doing any of the wide receivers anymore.
I know.
Right? Like, that's that you gave me earlier. What was it? Under 160?
Yeah, so I feel like I need to say it again because it's just such a mind-blowing stat. Jalen Hurts, when he passes for over 250 yards in a playoff game, is 0-3. Jalen Hurts, when he passes for 160 yards or less in a playoff game, is 4-0.
Like, excuse me?
It's
like
crazy.
that makes no sense. So it's
but like you also have to think about like Jalen Hurts literally had, I think it's still rated the best quarterback performance in Super Bowl history. And I think he did pass a lot that game because they didn't have Saquon. That was 2022, 23.
300 yards passing.
And they lost. So, like, you have to, like, that is also
I
a factor.
get
It wasn't necessarily on him.
Because the team runs it the way they do, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't bet on any of those wide receivers doing anything. Because I did bet on A.J. Brown to have over 75, and that was cooked.
I bet on him to get an anytime touchdown last week, and I knew it was risky with the snow. So I think because there is not going to be snow, thank goodness, forecasted this Sunday, I do like A.J. Brown getting in there. And I also think because of the lack of action the receivers have gotten, I haven't looked. I'm trying to find it on BetMGM. Mm-hmm. Last I checked, A.J. Brown's total receiving yards was like 65 or something, which is insane. Like, if you wanted to take it for a good value, I would jump on that while you can. I could see him and Devontae Smith having sneaky big games.
I'm going to take 58 and a half.
I take it now.
47 and a half.
I take both. Take both because I can see like if they try to stack the box against Saquon, that's why the Eagles' offense is so dangerous. Like, and the snow won't be a factor. I think Jalen could get it to his receivers for the first time in what feels like 10 years.
I'm gonna go with Jalen Hurts with a anytime touchdown also because everybody's thinking, oh, he's hurt, and they won't tush push when they get down there. Well, I mean, that's what they do. They're gonna tush push, and it's gonna work. So anytime touchdown is good. I'm also going with anytime touchdown with Saquon Barkley because it might not be from the red zone in, but he's going to eventually get him one longer. And then I'm also going to go with Dallas Goedert. Anytime touchdown. Three. Anytime touchdown. So I mean,
like that.
Goddard, Hurts, and Saquon. Anytime touchdowns.
Okay. I get it. But again, that passing game, I don't know who it's going to go to. It makes me a little bit nervous to pick anybody in that passing game, which is why I only pick Saquon Barkley.
If you had, like, honestly, I would say Dallas Goedert's probably the safest option.
Right.
Out of all the, not receivers, but passing options. Commanders allow the fourth most receiving touchdowns to tight ends, too. I just worry about his health. He had, like, an ankle thing yesterday.
He's always going to be the walking
I know. They need to draft a tight end.
Yeah, they do.
And the one last thing about the Eagles is funny because it's a lot of teams has been battling the nutrition, who can be healthy. And the Eagles have been lucky in the fact that they haven't had any season-ending injuries. And so when you started looking at Quinyon went down and Jalen was like, not now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not now. Other teams have had it, but not now. And obviously Washington's dealing with it with their right guard. So, again, hopefully everyone stays healthy and we can have the game that we want to have. But how Saquon is moving, hopefully Quinyon doesn't tweak anything.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? But those are some of the small things you're going to have to look at in this game. All right, when we come back, finally get into the AFC Championship game. It's going to be unbelievable. 0-4 in the playoffs. That's Josh Allen's record against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow.
Looking to break that. Sunday spread coming back. Yeah. Welcome back to the Sunday spread presented by BetMGM on the BetQL network. AFC times, Bills, Chiefs. Will the Chiefs get all the calls?
All right, yes, we know that.
See, do we think the refs are going to be like super
overcorrect?
Yeah, like overcorrecting. We don't want to get accused of that again.
I think that's going to be a point of emphasis, though.
Yeah,
like, there's too many eyes watching for Patrick Mahomes to do one of those flops or for you to call something. They're going to say, no, well, if you call a flag personal foul, we're going to be up in the sky and we're going to correct you right away and tell you not to do it. They have to with so many eyes on that game. Barrett, I'll start with you, man. What are some keys you looking at in this game?
It's all about defense. You know, I'm looking at Spags' defense, you know, for the Chiefs. I mean, he's got his linebackers, you know, Drew Tranquil and Nick Bolton playing at a high level. You know, they got great secondary. Trent Duffy. Those guys are playing great right now. So from a defensive standpoint, I think they have enough to deal with Josh Allen from a passing standpoint. And I tell you what, George Karlaftis and Chris Jones have been balling. So they can heat him up a little bit. But, man, it's going to be tough them playing against Josh Allen, how he wills his team to play excellent. That offensive line protects him. They can, you know, they're not efficient at running the ball. They're okay with running the ball. But I just think Kansas City's defense is going to be the major factor on this game. I mean, I'm looking at their offense. I don't see how Josh does it. I mean, they got Backpack Boy is one of their major receivers. Mm-hmm. Mac Hollins, this kid doesn't even come to work in shoes. And it's snow out there. What is wrong with him, man? I mean, I don't understand it. But, Amari Cooper is their number one, but they don't use him as much. I mean, they don't use him as much as
Khalil Shakir, really.
Yeah, and he's shifty slot guy, shifty slot guy. So I don't see how Josh is doing it, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Kansas City.
I mean, so you bring up a good point, Barrett, because when I'm going through this game, for both of these teams, both of these offenses, I should say, it's really hard to look at their games, especially their games in the divisional round, and say, what did they do well?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Khalil Shakir was the only Bills receiver with more than 15 receiving yards.
Yep.
And James Cook didn't even go off. Like, I know you could go back to that Eagles-Rams game and say, well, none of the Eagles receivers had a ton of receiving yards. Okay, but Saquon Barkley had over 200 rush yards.
Right.
Where the Bills, it's like, and same thing with the Chiefs. Like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is good. Travis Kelce turns it on, I feel, late in the season. His running backs aren't, like Isaiah Pacheco is nothing like what he was last season.
Nope.
So it's just like it's like props-wise, it's really hard for me to choose. Aside from like Travis Kelce and Josh Allen, it's hard to choose like anyone.
I would go Kareem Hunt
over getting in the end zone. Would you? Well, he scored last week.
Yeah, I would say Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown. But you're right. I mean, there's nothing really there that, like, I mean, even Xavier Worthy, he isn't the deep threat that they thought he was going to be throughout the year. I see Hollywood Brown. I mean, he shines every once in a while. And DeAndre Hopkins shines every once in a while. There's no real guy that, Patrick Mahomes is focusing on that could give him, keep the sticks moving besides Travis Kelce.
I mean, he won a Super Bowl with Shoo Smith.
Yeah.
Shoo. I just messed up his name. The shoe. TikTok boy. Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
He was the best wide receiver when they won a Super Bowl. So, I mean,
he came back.
They just figure out a way to do it. Again, talk about the earlier matchup between these two teams. The only game that Patrick Mahomes lost this season when he started was against the Buffalo Bills, 30-21. Pat Mahomes had 2 interceptions in that game.
And he hasn't thrown one since.
I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
You know what I mean? One since,
That's it. Like, turn him over and you're going to be good. If you don't turn him over, you're going to lose this game. But, yeah, it was 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 196 yards. Xavier Worthy had 4 receptions, 61 yards, leading the team that day against the Buffalo Bills. But, again, the Buffalo Bills were able to turn them over, play really good defense, and just play solid in that game. Khalil Shakir had 8 receptions, 70 yards in that game. And Josh Allen led the team in obviously passing, but also rushing with 55 yards. So that's how that game went down. But
he's willing them to win.
I talked about how highly I feel of Spags. Like, it's just what he does when he gets in these big-time matchups. Like, he's able to figure something out to make you go to something else. And so that's the thing that I worry about for any team that plays the Kansas City Chiefs, his ability to play schemes, and Chris Jones' ability to be – like, Jalen Carter has ascended as, to me, the second-best D tackle.
Yeah.
And that's behind Chris Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, any other year, maybe not any other year, but it would be Jalen Carter is the best D tackle in football with the way he's playing.
I'll give you that.
But Chris Jones –
the unstoppable force.
A future Hall of Famer, just absolutely dominating things. So how will they be able to block him? Because no one's able to block him and stop him from wrecking games against C.J. Stroud, against whoever they end up playing. So that's going to be the tough matchup.
Buffalo does have a pretty good offense. That means offensive line.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen is like the least stacked quarterback in the league.
Yeah, that got a pretty offensive line.
He doesn't take a lot of sacks. So that's a good matchup.
Yeah,
I'm sure he will on Sunday.
You see the press conference they were asking him. There was a time in that game on the goal line where he could have shoveled past it, but he ended up keeping it. And they were like, were there talking voices in your head to be old Josh? He was like, old Josh would have threw that and turned it over. He would have had that shovel and I thought about it, but
that's growth.
That's growth. That ain't me no more. So it's gonna be, again, and it's weird because Josh Allen was a turnover machine at the midpoint last year. right? And then all of a sudden he turned it on and won all these games, and he hasn't turned the ball over the entire year this year. Yeah. So is he going to be able to continue that, or is that going to come back and haunt you? Right? Is he fully over turning that rock over?
You just want all these quarterbacks to turn the ball over, huh?
It's the biggest thing.
Yeah. It is.
Zero turnovers between these teams. So somebody's got to turn the ball over.
Who would you bet out of the 4 quarterbacks in action this week? Who would you bet would turn it over first?
He already said it.
Jalen?
He already said it, yeah.
Well, I said Jalen was going to turn the ball over. I didn't say he would be first. I didn't say I would count on him the most.
I'm going to say Jaden McDaniels. Shocking, I know.
I think Jaden and Jalen turn the ball over this week.
Okay.
You just can't stop talking about Hurts, man.
Well, this is the conference championship game. I have to talk about him.
Come on.
What do you do? I have to talk about him.
This guy doesn't.
You act like he didn't take a safety last week. You act like he didn't fumble last week. This is not. You act like Jalen Hurts, previous to this great stretch, hasn't been a turnover machine.
He was a turnover machine the first 4 games.
I'm not taking this. He was a turnover machine in the last year also. I'm not taking this out of thin air. He turns the ball over. And I was talking about Josh Allen turning the ball over. I was talking about all these quarterbacks turning the ball over, with the exception of Patrick Mahomes.
So I think Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts are really similar in what they've done to turn it around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's clearly like a focus where we were talking, like Jalen Hurts at least feels almost too conservative, where his issue is he's holding on to the ball. That's why he had the safety, because and he hurt his knee, so he couldn't. I think in any other situation he would have scrambled out of that. It was a bad play call, in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely was.
But and in the snow, it just made no sense. But I think sometimes he can be overly cautious, but he's still not turning the ball over. So at the end of the day, it's like pick your poison. But they both have improved greatly with that. I don't know.
I'm looking at weather in Kansas City this week. Then
that's a good call. It was really cold. It wasn't snowing there, but it was really cold for the Texans game.
So when you look at it, Sunday, 22 degrees, no snow. Will that be an advantage?
22 degrees. Ooh.
I think that'll be an advantage for Kansas City.
Nobody though.
Buffalo, the past couple games they've been playing at home, it's been snow everywhere. It's snow, so I mean, opponents going up there, that's a decided advantage for them. No snow this time. It might be an advantage for Kansas City.
Both teams are just used to playing in that type of weather.
Right.
So with that said, let's pick the game and pick how we think the game is going to go. Dev, I'll start with you. How does this game go? Is it going to hurt your soul to pick a certain team?
No, because I'm not going to pick them. I'm taking the Bills. I've been bullish on the Bills really all season, but especially throughout the postseason. I had them last week. I had them obviously the week before that. I think that Josh Allen is on a mission, and he's playing the best football that he's ever played in the league. And I think that he and this Bills offense can continue to power through. They're putting up over 27 points a game. I know the Chiefs' defense is good, but they're not as good as they were last year. And to counter that, the Chiefs' offense, I know it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, but they've got Travis Kelce, and that's about it. The last time these two teams played, I know Travis Kelce's coming off a big game last week. They held Travis Kelce to 2 catches for 8 yards. Like, he didn't do much. And I know that was back in week 11. Things change. It's hard to pick this game because it's going to be so close. It's going to be such a great game. I'm just going Bills. My gut tells me Bills.
Okay. Any props you going with?
Josh Allen anytime touchdown. Josh Allen over rushing yards. I don't know what it's set at right now. That's all I have right now.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay. I'm not mad at it. Barrett, break it down. What you think?
I'm going Bills win. And props I'm looking at Kelce over on yards. I mean, he's been the saving grace in the playoffs right now. I'm also going to go Shakir's. I'm going over his catches and over his yards. And then Josh Allen. Of course, you got Josh Allen anytime touchdown. But I might go James Cook anytime touchdown if I was going to, make a little parlay. I would go James Cook because he's going to have to be a factor this game. He has to be a factor. There's no way he can't be a factor, and they win this game. So, I'm kind of shying away from tight ends. Tight ends, other than Goddard, I'm shying away from. After I saw that point shaving effort over there with the Ravens. So Josh Allen anytime touchdown, James Cook anytime touchdown, over yards, over catches with Shakir, and then like I said, anytime over yards with Kelsey, and I also go with anytime touchdown with Kelsey also.
Okay.
You know what? I did forget. Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown.
He got one last week.
Yep.
I've been underwhelmed with the Chiefs' rushing offense this year. Bills. So we were talking about interceptions. I'm changing my answer from Jaden Daniels. I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes. And if you want good value, Bills defensive touchdown. They have the 4th most interceptions. I think that Bills secondary could pick off Pat Mahomes and run one back. Book it. Why not? The Chiefs are also really bad against tight ends. If you want to take, who is it? Dawson Knox?
Yep.
Is he their star? I know they have they have 2 different tight ends. Josh Allen likes to throw to.
Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid.
Yes,
Yep.
their names always sound really similar to me.
Yep.
The hate in me wants to pick the Buffalo Bills. Right, like I don't want the Kansas City Chiefs to win, but isn't this what Kansas City does? Again, Buffalo Bills 0-4 against the Kansas City Chiefs. They just can't beat them in the playoffs. They faced them, I believe, 5 of the last 4 years, and they can't get it done against this one team. And
a lot of people
streaks
are meant to be broken.
Yeah, that's the one thought process, but the other thought process is I'm better than you, dog. You know what I mean? Like, I own you. This is just the matchup you don't want. You can't make it to the Super Bowl until you don't have to face me. That could be the also likely scenario.
Yeah, but you don't think Buffalo's not using that as fuel?
Yeah, and I think Kansas City's saying, so what? Like, they used it as fuel the last time.
So you're giving the counter argument. Never mind. I'm not gonna just continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I'm not giving the counter argument. I know what you're gonna say because I picked the Eagles to win.
That's true.
I only picked it to be a tighter game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the counter. It's the same sort of argument. It's just Kansas City's gonna be like, all right, like you're gonna bring all that fuel, just like Washington's gonna bring all that fuel, and you're still gonna fall short, right? Like you're still gonna fall short of this thing just because, again, maybe I overrank it, and people are gonna say I overrate it. It's just I can't see those 2 coordinators not being able to be like if you put clutch points. Right? Like, who's the clutchest of this? Like, Andy Reid is the clutchest. Like, I remember when the Eagles played the Kansas City Chiefs, and it was, I forget what the actual play call, but they had one play call that just broke the system, and everyone was talking about, like...
Yeah, the orbit motion.
Yeah, that
the orbit motion.
They just knew exactly, I'm going to call this play out because I know exactly what the Eagles are going to do here, and I got 2 touchdowns out of it.
The orbit motion.
Why weren't we able to adjust after we saw the first touchdown?
Because they ran it to one side, then turned around and ran it to the left side. The same exact play. They just flip-flopped it. And scored both times with it.
That's the type of things I see from Andy Reid facing these teams from week to week. And staying with Steve Sack, knowing when to bring the pressure, knowing when to do these different things. Like, those 2 coordinators in combination can out. And I know all the players, it's on the field. But when you got elite guys up there to make your job easier, to call the plays, to trick you, I just think the Kansas City Chiefs have that. And I think they're going to have that against the Buffalo Bills. It's one thing if you go, okay, if the Kansas City Chiefs play the Eagles have such elite talent. Buffalo ain't got elite no disrespect to them. Great offensive line.
It's the hater.
Shout out to Deion Dawkins,
Temple
Brad.
Yeah.
Right, great offensive line, but you don't look at the wide receivers, you don't look at the running backs, you don't look at anything and go, oh, like that person can change the game. It's on Josh Allen, even defensively.
But see,
how many guys do you look at defensively and go,
I think the Chiefs are the same way on offense. You look at, aside from Mahomes and Kelsey, you're not like, oh, I'm so scared.
Yeah, but then I got that guy up top that's calling the plays.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So I have the Kansas City Chiefs winning this game and just doing what they do. All right, we'll come back. We'll give scores. When we come back, Eagles fans are mad about some Coach of the Year and some different awards. I think they're a little bit upset. I heard some people crying on Twitter. So let's go and look at the futures. Let's go and look at the awards because it's going to be award season. I think they're giving out awards next week. During the middle, right before the Super Bowl. So we're going to take a look at those coming up on the Sunday Spread.
Yep.
And I found the finalists too. So We'll just go through it.
Right.
Welcome back to the Sunday Spread, final segment of championship weekend. Barrett Brooks, Devin Caney, Sean Bell. Let's get to some awards because they broke that out. They broke that out this week, and we know who the finalists are for all the awards. And so let's take a look. All right, first we'll start with the MVP, the obvious. We have 5. I don't even know why they have 5 because really only 2. But they have 5. Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson. I don't even know why Joe Burrow and Jared Goff are on this list. Who do y'all think it is? Because, again, Josh Allen was the odds-on favorite.
Yeah.
But Lamar Jackson gained a lot of steam and has the better numbers. And, again, it doesn't count the playoffs.
Yeah.
So the votes are already in. Dev, I'll start with you. Who do you think gets this one?
Well, I love that Saquon Barkley, I think a running back even being on the final list is a win because it's very much a quarterback award, and he's had an insane season and postseason. I know it doesn't count, but I think the odds-on favorite, like Josh Allen, I think is gonna win this. We've talked about these awards throughout the season, and I think every time I say Josh Allen.
Yeah,
and that's why I just picked the Bills to beat the Chiefs. I mean, Josh Allen's on a different planet this season. He's not turning the ball over, and he's doing it without the help. Like, he doesn't have all-pro receivers. He doesn't have – actually, I don't know if he has an all-pro O-line. I know he does have a good O-line, so you have to credit them.
Really
I don't
good,
want to take that away from him.
Mm.
But he's just having a really good season, and I think he's going to be the winner.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be the winner. And it's hard to define what MVP means because MVP to me means quarterback. Hasn't been I like the last running back MVP was
Sean Alexander?
No, Adrian Peterson.
Was it? Okay.
It was Adrian Peterson, and he had 2,000 something yards.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just a quarterback award. But when you define who the MVP was, there's nobody right now that I say is more tied to the success of the team than Saquon Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right.
where he goes,
when you really break
goes.
down value.
Right.
I got to disagree
Right.
with that. I think it's Josh.
I mean, Josh
He
has
ain't
the
got
ball
nobody
all the
else.
time.
Like,
Josh has the
honestly,
ball all the
I
time,
know
though.
it's not going to be a 3-way tie, but like if like what Barrett said, when you break it down by like what this award really means, most valuable player, like the player tied to changing the game and winning games for their team, I think it's honestly a tie between Saquon, Josh Allen, and Lamar.
Yeah.
I would probably do Josh and Saquon
Yes, 1 and 2.
closer.
Yep.
And then Lamar, because Lamar did have Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
But it's a quarterback award. So
It's a quarterback. Yeah, Josh is going to win that thing. Even though Lamar had better numbers, but I think.
So you think if he'd have won?
You go with the narrative and you go with Lamar already winning a couple.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to lean towards Josh Allen. Let's go to AP Defensive Player of the Year award. This is an award I really have no idea. Zach Bond, Philadelphia Eagles, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson from the Cincinnati Bengals, Patrick Surtain, and TJ Watt. I really haven't been locked in enough. I'm gonna be honest with you. To what all defensive players are doing. Obviously, I'm in Philadelphia, so I'm locked into Zach. But I haven't been locked in to really understand what these other defensive players, and the numbers are tough to say.
I have been. I've been watching film on all those guys. And you talk about most impactful guy right now, I would have to say, and it's not me being a homer, but it's Zach Bond. I mean, totality of what you ask from a defensive MVP. He has sacks, interceptions. He has pass defense, fumbles, fumble recoveries. He has impacted the game from every aspect. Other defenders, of course, you're going to get sacks from those guys. But what else are they bringing to the table? He has a mixture of all those things, plus this, plus this, plus that. And he's on the best defense. And he's a major part of why the Eagles are the best defense, even the best passing defense in the NFL. So I'm going to say, I would say Zach Bond will be that guy.
I've not been locked in enough. I think, like, from what I've seen and heard, obviously I know the most about Zach Bond, but I'm not going to sit here and be a complete homer. Like, I know that Patrick Surtain has had an incredible season for the Broncos, and their defense was legit. Like Myles Garrett, like I don't think anyone outside of Cleveland, maybe even in Cleveland, was locked in enough to watch the Cleveland Browns most of the season. I know Myles Garrett is a generational player. He's always going to be good. He's always going to make a list like this. But, like, I couldn't tell you.
Sacks and all that stuff.
Yeah, like, I don't think I heard enough about him wrecking games because.
And Patrick Surtain also. Good. Patrick Surtain also.
I can't go with Zach just because it's hard for me to go with a player if I don't feel like he's the best player on this team. Like the best player on that defense, right? Like everybody else, you go, it's Myles Garrett, it's T.J. Watt, they're the best player. And then Zach has played unbelievable, all pro football. But I go the most, if I were to say who's the most impactful player for the Eagles defense this year, I would go Jalen Carter. And for that reason, I wouldn't vote Zach Bond as the defensive player of the year. And again, there's some ignorance here to this. I would go Patrick Surtain. I think cornerbacks need more love, and this is more of a cornerbacks need more love argument than it is anything else with how they impact games. Just like Quinyon Mitchell should have been a Pro Bowler. Like, when you just lock things down and you have a whole side of the field as the best player on the team, that needs to be looked at more than it is. So, I'm ignorant on this. So, I'm not mad at Zach Bond. I'm not mad at anybody else, but I will vote Patrick Surtain because I haven't been locked in.
But the only thing is, in what other aspects did he influence the game? I think you look at Bond. Bond played, and he influenced the run game and the passing game, turnovers. And Carter is a force. He's a force. He might be. I wouldn't say he might be the best defensive lineman, but I don't know if he'd be the best player though.
I think he's the best player, man. I think Zach, those linebackers ate off of Jalen Carter.
They ate off
of
Davis too.
Patrick don't eat off of anybody. Like when you a cornerback, you can't eat off of anybody. You just gotta, you just out there on that island. So again, I'm not mad at anybody, but not necessarily locked in. I don't even know. The next one.
He's the only cornerback on that list too.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
I don't even think we have to. Well, this may be a discussion. Offensive player of the year. I thought it was clear, but maybe it's not as clear. Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. To me, it's clearly. I said clearly Saquon, but like Joe and Jamar had historical seasons.
It's clearly Saquon, yet I feel like Joe Burrow is somehow going to win because everyone is like loves to give him his flowers. Like, oh, your team sucks, but you still threw for like 500 yards a game. Take this award and feel better.
Right.
Keep giving us content, and we'll reward you with this. I know that's not how voting works, but I do just feel like there's like people like Joe Burrow and they like to vote for quarterbacks.
It's kind of weird.
They're always behind, so they have to throw.
It's kind of weird to be in the MVP and the offensive player of the year. Like Josh, like if you have offensive player of the year, wouldn't Josh also like to me, offensive player of the year shouldn't be a quarterback award period.
No,
if
I
you're
agree.
Gonna make MVP quarterback, make it quarterback,
make it position
make offensive player be position. So to me, Joe Burrow and Lamar shouldn't even be in there. Right? So like you know what I mean? And if you're gonna have both, if Saquon's gonna be in both, then wouldn't the quarterbacks who's gonna win MVP be in both?
Well, yeah, and then like there's
no.
Oh, there is. So Jamar Chase, wide receiver, is on here. So there's only one wide receiver here. But yeah, because it's taken up by quarterbacks. I agree. I think if you're nominated for MVP, you should not be nominated for.
But Saquon is going to win that thing. I think that's an easy lock. But shout out to, we had some historical seasons.
Yeah.
Burrow and Chase had a historical season. Lamar had his best statistical year of his career.
Yep.
So unbelievable. With that said, AP Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm going to name the names, but this one's obvious also. Brock Bowers, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Bo Nix, Brian Thompson Jr.
Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
Jaden Daniels, easy.
Brock
Bowers was for a little bit until Jaden Daniels just took over after the Bears win with the Hail Mary. From that point on, he became a superstar. From that point on, he became that dude.
AP Defensive Rookie of the Year. That's probably a wrap, too, although it shouldn't be a wrap. No. Quinyon had an unbelievable, but they don't give cornerbacks. That's why I was giving cornerback love. The cornerbacks need more love. Cooper DeJean. I love Cooper DeJean.
Me too.
I love him.
I love Cooper DeJean. I think, hot take, I think he could end up being even better than Quinyon overall when their career is over.
Really?
I just think Cooper, I look at him, and I'm not comparing him to this guy, but I look at your Rod Woodsons or your Charles Woodsons, where I go, you can be a great cornerback for 7 years and then be a great safety for 7 years.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep.
Right? Like, I look at Cooper as being that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, he can have a long 14, 15-year career and play 2 different positions when he gets slower and be elite at both of those positions. So I like Cooper DeJean a lot. But Cooper DeJean,
I love that they're both nominated.
Yeah.
Like, or finalists.
And physical, too. I love his physicality when he plays.
Braden Fisk, Quinyon Mitchell, Chop Robinson, and Jared Verse. I think they've already given it to Jared.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he kind of proved it to me because.
No, I mean, I know that they're going to give it to Jared Verse, but I think Quinyon Mitchell has had a phenomenal rookie. Like, there was a stretch, literally, I think up until, it might have been through the regular season or at least up until the postseason. I don't know, but he wasn't allowing anyone to get a reception. Like, the top receivers in the league, Jamar Chase, like, he was locking them down as a rookie, and he still is.
I think he only had he only gave up 2 touchdowns the entire year.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns the entire year.
Let's get to AP. We said Jared Verse. AP Comeback Player of the Year. Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, J.K. Dobbins, Christian Gonzalez, DeMar Hamlin.
Do the right thing and give it to DeMar. Please.
He played this year.
But he actually played and made good plays this year.
He died and became an all-pro.
Yeah.
He died on the field, came back the next year, and became an all-pro.
He was an all-pro this year?
HTP?
I think so. I think he's an all-pro.
He's had a really good season.
Really good season.
Yes. Yeah. And Sam Darnold came back from what? Being on the bench?
Being on the Jets.
What are we talking about?
From the Jets,
or the Panthers, wherever.
Or he was with the 49ers. Actually.
I don't even. Oh, yeah, you're right. Wow, suitcase.
What are we talking about?
Sorry. Fair to
Is it that easy?
I'm ignore. Moving right along. You lucky we got 1 minute left. Real quick. AP, I'll go assistant coach of the year first. Joe Brady from Buffalo, Vic Fangio, Eagles, Brian Flores, Minnesota, Aaron Glenn, Detroit, Ben Johnson, Detroit.
I think Ben Johnson's going to win, but I know I sound like a homer. What Vic Fangio has done for the Philadelphia defense, they were last. The Philadelphia defense, especially their pass defense, was literally last in the league last season.
I think Vic's going to win.
And he took them to first place.
I think Vic's
You think?
Yeah.
See, I just assume that no one's ever going to vote for Philly anything.
No.
So maybe.
No. And we don't care.
No. No one likes us. We don't care.
No one likes you. Plenty of people like y'all.
No, they don't.
Y'all just
don't.
Philly only focuses on the hate.
I saw a graphic that was
focus.
who America is rooting for this weekend, and it was Bills and Commanders. Like, sorry.
Y'all only focus on the hate. That's your problem. Y'all only go through. Y'all got 100 good comments. Like, most of the guys pick y'all to win.
Here's one right here. Oh, here's another one right here.
Oh, exactly. That's what y'all do. Last one, AP Coach of the Year. Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, Sean Payton, Dan Quinn, Andy Reid. Who do you think wins that?
Dan
I think
Quinn?
that's the toughest one. And then we got to wrap it up. You think Dan Quinn wins?
No. I think Kevin O'Connell will win because it's regular season, right?
Yeah, it is regular season. I'm going. Yeah, Kevin O'Connell. I mean, come on. He was in the best division and came up second in the best division.
I'm gonna go with Dan Quinn because I think it was the biggest turnaround.
But
and
see,
so
I think
that
that's
has to
being
mean
solidified
something.
by what they've done in the postseason. That doesn't count.
But they won 12.
Yeah, but they
went
weren't
from,
like
6 wins to
I
12.
feel like respected the way that they are now.
Kevin O'Connell 14.
People change their minds quick.
That's true. It could go either way. One thing I'll say before we go. I was surprised it was 4-12. It was 4 wins to 12 wins.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? I was also surprised.
For the Vikings.
Jim Harbaugh. No, for
the Commanders.
Commanders.
Oh.
So that's unbelievable. I was also surprised Jim Harbaugh wasn't in there for the same reason.
Yeah.
Basically doubling up their win total.
Yeah.
All right, and the Vikings went to 7 wins to 14 wins. Both big jumps, but again, the Washington win was a little bit bigger. Thank you, Kenny. All right, that has been the Sunday Spread. We will be back next week with some
the Eagles in the
happy, gloating faces or some angry faces with one happy face. We'll see what it's going to be.
Wait, who's going to have a happy face?
Who you think's going to have a happy face if the Eagles lose?
You?
Yes.
Why?
Anything to torment you guys is good to me. I don't care if it's against my best interest. Okay?
I hope not.
You.
I have been holding back gloating because I'm like, just wait, to see if they can keep winning because I don't want to jinx it. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. This has been the Sunday Spread. Devin Caney, Barrett Brooks, Sean Bell.